Hey guys, Dr. Decks here. Today I'm going to show you some speed build tips for building a deck quickly and things that we use, quick tips and shortcuts to get you there faster once you're on the site. All right, so the first thing is, let's just say your decking is framed and you're getting ready to lay the deck. And you're getting ready to lay your first deck board right up against the house. Don't trust the house is straight, square, plumb, any of it, because it's not. So the first thing you want to do is get the ends pinned on that board. And don't only do it temporarily. Don't drive the screws home. Just get them set roughly and then use a string line. String lines are very cheap, very quick, and they're very accurate. Pull a really tight string from end to end and you'll be able to tell right away if that board is crowning or cupping. I'd prefer a little bit of a cup than a crown because it's easier to fix. You're only fixing the center of the board instead of both ends. So if you get your first deck board straight with a string, then the rest of that deck is going to be easy to lay. Trust me. I've done it so many times. I said, oh yeah, this house looks good. Let's just drop the first board in. We lay 4 boards and then I've got this big old cup or crown in the deck. And then I got to fight it all the way out to the end of the deck to try and make that baby straight. You can't make it up in just 1 or 2 boards. You're probably gonna have to make that up over 8, 12, or 16 boards, which is about 8 feet of the deck. So if you start with a straight line, you're gonna end up with a straight line usually, as long as you keep everything properly spaced. Here's another speed increasing device that I use on almost every build. The color doesn't really matter. It could be red or green laser, but some kind of a laser, an accurate one. I only use Stabila lasers in my builds, and they're excellent for justifying elevation. And I only need these for a couple of reasons, but man, it saves me all kinds of time when I'm doing it. One is for ledger justification and elevation. If I want to know how level a house is or how plumb things are, I bust out a laser for that. And then the one thing I use it for always is my post heights. Once I figure out my magic number, which I just take this laser and I figure out where that's shining on the post, I can add or subtract any amount of height, drainage, and everything else that I want. And then I can go ahead and add those 2 numbers together at any footing location. And then I will have what I need for my height. From there, I'll take that number, I'll write it right on the footing, and then the guys come around and take measurements on posts, cut that length, and then come back and set it in the saddle. It's very fast, it's very efficient, and as long as your numbers are on point, it never is a fail. It always is a win, and it's very fast. It's gonna speed you up by a couple hours trying to do a level method and string lines and chalk lines and all that stuff. I definitely recommend investing in a decent laser for your elevation on your project. Seems very simple. It's just a device called a spacer. This one's called a DeckMate, and I bought these on the TimberTech AZEK webpage. One side has a 3/16 inch gap. One side has an 1/8 inch gap. We standard gap our decks at 3/16 of an inch. So the 3/16 you'll notice has a wider base than the top, and a lot of these are broken because we're walking into them and tripping on them and stuff like that. Because when you lay these in, we can lay 5 deck boards at a time with these spacers. I've done this for many, many years since these were available, probably back in the early 90s. They also have another version that has a 1/4 inch and 3/8, but I just feel that's a little too much gap. But I have some just in case I need to fatten a gap, and sometimes in my decks where I have to use, instead of a 3/16, I just want an extra 1/16 of a push. I'll drop those in and I'll get that 1/4 inch gap instead of a 3/16, and then I can start to increase a gap if I have a cup or something like this in the deck and I need to flatten it out. You can't just take that string line, and if you have a 1/4 inch of leeway that you need to bring out, you're gonna have to bring it out gradually. So either you can go backwards and pull screws and start gapping things that way, or you can start doing it from here on out to make up for that gap. You're always gonna use your eye. Your eye is a good indicator, and it also is very quick. You can just lean down on the deck, get your eye right down on the deck board, and look down the line, and you're gonna know if you're close, if you're off, or if things are going terribly wrong. So it's always something good. Trust your eye, and also trust that string line. But these gapping tools, these work really good. They're very quick, but I got something else for you. This is one of the fastest ways that we install decking. These are an Irwin clamp with a deck board spacing tool attached to the ends. These are no longer available from Irwin, but there's a guy on the internet called Deckmaster J that sells these kits. that you can make for your clamps. So you just clamp them on, and then you have these adapters. Now this part goes into the decking like so. It's upside down. So basically, the way we used to do it, or sometimes we do it, is this is in between a deck board, this is in between a deck board, here's my deck board gapper, and then as I clamp on this clamp, it clamps everything together and keeps everything nice and straight. You can over tighten these though, so you gotta be careful. You just have to have the right amount of tension when you're using these, because I use the heavy duty clamps and these gapping tools. So it's just something to think about. If you're gonna be laying a lot of deck, these clamp tools are definitely a time saver for sure. So you want the fastest way to lay decking. Okay, I know there's a lot of clip systems on the market, but on a lot of the decks that we install, we're not necessarily using clips. We're gonna be face screwing, and I'll get into that in a minute. But this is called a deck divider. So we have the same clamping tools. Now these are the Deckmaster J clamp adapters. These are older ones, so they're a little beat up. You can see here, these have a rolling ability. So we can do wide boards, narrow boards, doesn't matter what width they are. We can lay 5 at a time, and we just put them in like so. And these are a standard 3/16 gap just to match our other spacers. So these are now available on the internet, and just go to thedecktdivider.com and you can get these. And now they're a 2-piece unit, so you don't have to take the clamps apart. They can just clip together right on the bar. And then these are the fastest and easiest way, because you're not individually pulling a spacer out every time. Sometimes you got to use a pry bar to get those orange spacers out. With these, you just have to turn this a little bit and it pops right out. So this is the fastest way that we found so far to install intermittent deck boards, 5 at a time. Once you have your straight board in, these can rock and roll. And I like the fact that you can use them with multi-width boards, like the deck we're laying now is going to be 7 1/4, 3 1/2, 7 1/4, 3 1/2, and so on and so forth. So it just makes it really nice to be able to install super fast. And we have enough of these to do a 20-footer. So we probably have 12 or 13 of these setups together ready to go. I think an impact driver is one of the fastest ways to install decking. Some guys love them, some guys don't. I notice a lot of people in our industry is using them, but usually more than one is my trade secret. I might have 4 of these chucked up with various sized drill bits and tips and all kinds of different stuff that I can grab what I need when I need it, and it's just readily available right then and there. This is a DeWalt DCF 850. I like the compactness of this drill. It works very well, and we've been really happy with these. So we got a 5 amp hour power stack on there, works really well, lasts quite a while. And if we happen to overheat the drill, we just grab another one. So we're not overusing the drills too much. I've actually burned them up doing that before. Okay, let's talk about hidden fasteners. There's lots of different clips and hidden clip systems on the market. We often use one with our aluminum framing from Outdoor that's an integrated clip that clips right into the framing. So we only have to install every 5th clip, which is kind of nice. So we cinch all the boards together, and then we drive a screw, then we do 5 more, drive a screw, drive 5 more, drive a screw. But on this particular job, we don't have a groove board because we're doing a multi-width pattern. So we're gonna face screw it. We're gonna use a product called Cortex, and it's just a little screw made by FastMaster. This one's designed to go into metal. So it's self-tapping, and then it has a special head that cuts right into the deck board, and then we set it to a proper depth with a depth setting tool that's included with the screws. And then when you're done, it comes with different colored corks or plugs that you plug the hole with when you're done. And then the holes disappear and it looks really good. And face screwing is the best way to attach a deck. It may not be the fastest, but it's the best way to do it. So when we use clip systems, we still pin the ends of all of our boards to keep them from moving this way too much. I like this hidden fastening system. As far as hidden fastening goes, it's still very fast because we're able to lay 5 boards at a time. And then once we get ahead of one guy, 2 guys will be laying the deck, and then another guy comes back and puts all the corks in. So he's finishing up the corks or the plugs while we're installing the deck. So I think it's a very efficient way to do it, and it's very quick. We've talked a lot about deck board laying, installation of decking materials, and faster ways to do that. One quick way to install your joists, if you're doing a wood deck and you have a ledger that's all installed and you're getting ready to start hanging your joists, a lot of guys use a framing nailer to blam the sides of the joists on. I don't like leaving big cracks on the sides of my joists that I see after I put a joist hanger on. So I use a 15 gauge finish gun. This one's by DeWalt. I like this one because it has a really sharp tip on it. If you can see that, it gets into really tight spaces and allows me to put the nail where I need it. And I might add 3 or 4 on each side of a small joist and 4 to 6 on each side of a big joist. And then once all the joists are tacked onto the wall, then we go back and we install our joist hangers. Nobody walks on the framing until the joist hangers are installed, but this is a quick way to get them to elevation, get them square. If the board's not quite square when you nail it up, you can take a hammer and tap it. The finish nails allow you to move things around a little bit to get them to the right height you need. Then you can put in that joist hanger and then you're locked and loaded. And the last tip I have for you guys is when you're face screwing decking, use a chalk line. Now, I don't recommend using blue. I have a white one. I just couldn't find it for this video. But using a chalk line in line with all your screw lines, even though you're gonna Cortex and hide those screws, is a great way to identify where everything needs to go, and you have nice, straight, crisp lines, and you're never gonna miss a joist when you use a chalk line, and everybody's on the same page as far as straightness. So this is definitely, it increases your speed. Once you have these done, everybody can lay a screw. They all know where to put them now because your chalk line's straight, and then you just keep them about an inch away from the edge of the decking and you're dialed. Invest in a nice chalk line. All right, guys, those are some tips to increase your speed on the job site. If you like this video, don't forget to click that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and thanks for watching this video. Have a great day.